What it does mean is that I seem to find it very hard to apologize for bad behavior. And this is too bad for two reasons. In the first place, apologizing for something you did wrong is like an interpersonal slam dunk. Almost everybody will forgive you for being wrong. Not everybody will forgive you for being right, but almost everybody will forgive you for being wrong, especially if it means that it makes the other person right. And using words to solve a relationship problem is actually a very easy and inexpensive solution, all things being equal. So ladies, one of the best ways to earn respect and raise your estimation in someone else's mind is to admit wrongdoing when it's appropriate. Now, the reason why it is so hard for women to apologize is that there seems to be a difference in what men and women consider to be the problem. From a man's perspective, the problem is some behavior for which he believes the woman to be at fault. And as a consequence of that behavior, he is now angry and upset. The behavior is the problem, and the emotional response is the consequence. And in his mind, the solution to this problem is acknowledgement of fault and behavioral change. And I don't think that's how a lot of women see it. From a woman's perspective, the problem is not the identified behavior. The problem is that the man is angry and upset. And as ridiculous as that might seem to a man, and in her mind, the solution to this problem is changing the way he feels. If she can succeed in modifying the man's emotional response, then on some level, that would solve the problem. And that's why you encounter the kind of interpersonal strategies that you do with women in relationships under these circumstances. Rather than apologies and accountability, you typically see a number of emotional coping strategies, like trying to cheer you up, or making your favorite meal, or sending you a funny meme, or simply allowing enough time to pass for everything to blow over.
I think this has been something that's been perplexing to me, that many people, even women, have stated women want to talk about their emotions regarding the problem and not get solutions for the problem. Now that might be quite a first world problem, because if you're interested in just talking about the problem and not getting a solution to the problem, you don't have a very big problem. So I don't know if, and these things aren't men or women or children or old people kind of classifications. This is like a human being classification. I can think that children that have grown up quite easily, without enough money, enough resources, didn't get divorced, didn't suffer, that this could be their kind of problem. I mean, I don't know if these people have really suffered poverty to a degree, because if you want to rather talk about your feelings about poverty instead of getting solutions for your poverty, I don't think they've felt poverty. I don't think they've felt sickness. I don't think they've felt divorce. I mean, imagine your parents separating. How terrible that is. And now people say they just want to talk about their feelings about the divorce. They don't really want solutions to get their parents together or not to divorce. It is absolutely ridiculous. People that have suffered hugely because of certain things, I can promise you, care most about getting solutions for that to stop, rather than talking about their emotions, about how upset they are about what had happened. I just want to reiterate, I'm not talking about a man or woman thing here, but I have heard many people say, and even women themselves, they don't want solutions. They want to talk and feel better about the situation and their emotions. This lady has a nail in her head. Imagine how that is. And she doesn't want to get the nail out. She doesn't want solutions. She wants to talk about her emotions and feel better with the nail carrying on being stuck in her head. This seems like a real first world problem. I don't think these people have suffered enough to know that under excruciating circumstances, you really want the problem to be sorted out and not talk about your emotions regarding the problem.
It's just, there's all this pressure, you know? And sometimes it feels like it's right up on me, and I can just feel it, like literally feel it in my head, and it's relentless. And I don't know if it's going to stop. I mean, that's the thing that scares me the most, is that I don't know if it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Well, you do have a nail in your head.
It is not about the nail.
Are you sure? Because, I mean, I'll bet if we got that out of there...
Stop trying to fix it.
No, I'm not trying to fix it. I'm just pointing out that maybe the nail is causing...
You always do this. You always try to fix things when what I really need is for you to just listen.
See, I don't think that is what you need. I think what you need is to get the nail
See, you're
out.
not even listening now.
Okay, fine. I will listen. Fine.
It's just... Sometimes it's like there's this achy... I don't know what it is. And I'm not sleeping very well at all. And all my sweaters are snagged. I mean, all of them.
Yeah, that sounds really hard.
It is. Thank you. Ow!
Oh, come on. If you would just...
Don't...
Try to see things my way.
If you take really serious problems like this, look here, how many people live on the street in the world? It's estimated 150 million people are homeless worldwide. Habitat for Humanity estimates that in 2016, 1.6 billion people around the world live in inadequate shelters. Look at these people living on the trash heaps. I mean, how could a person ever believe that you'd rather want to talk about the emotion of being upset and angry rather than wanting to get solutions? I mean, I think the problems are not just serious enough.
Now, the reason why it is so hard for women to apologize is that there seems to be a difference in what men and women consider to be the problem. From a man's perspective, the problem is some behavior for which he believes the woman to be at fault. And as a consequence of that behavior, he is now angry and upset. The behavior is the problem, and the emotional response is the consequence. And in his mind, the solution to this problem is acknowledgement of fault and behavioral change. And I don't think that's how a lot of women see it. From a woman's perspective, the problem is not the identified behavior. The problem is that the man is angry and upset. And in her mind, the solution to this problem is changing the way he feels. If she can succeed in modifying the man's emotional response, then on some level, that would solve the problem. And that's why you encounter the kind of interpersonal strategies that you do with women in relationships under these circumstances. Rather than apologies and accountability, you typically see a number of emotional coping strategies, like trying to cheer you up, or making your favorite meal, or sending you a funny meme, or simply allowing enough time to pass for everything to blow over. All of these are strategies to reduce the man's felt experience of anger or upset. Do you understand? Women also notoriously use sex in this manner. Many years ago, I was out for a drink with a woman I was dating, and she decided to take something that I said very much the wrong way. She quickly escalated, and within seconds was crying and critical and withdrawn. It was fairly early in the dating process, so I was taken aback by how quickly this had escalated. However, as is my way, I didn't argue with her and gave her some time and space to emotionally equilibrate. Later that night, rather than apologizing for imputing to me something that I didn't intend, or owning up to the disproportionate intensity of her emotional reaction, or even acknowledging the episode at all, she just came into the room, took off all her clothes, and kind of laid herself in front of me. The feeling I had was that she was offering sex as a kind of peace offering to assuage my hurt feelings, rather than apologizing for her bad behavior. And in that moment, I unfortunately lost a lot of respect for this person because of what her behavior seemed to imply, that if I could be distracted with a bit of sex, then we could all just move forward as if what just happened didn't happen.
As I said, this isn't a woman or a man thing. I'm getting a video now which talks about why men don't apologize. I think it's a human being thing. And I think it says a lot about a person that can't apologize.
And the topic of today's short talk is, if you've done nothing wrong, don't apologize. So, it is sometimes the case that as we move through life, People might become angry or upset with us in response to something that we said or did, or didn't say or didn't do. And these folks will bring their hurt feelings to our attention, sometimes demanding an apology. However, the truth is that hurt feelings are not, in and of themselves, a sign of transgression. If someone is upset with you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you've done anything wrong. Maybe you have, and maybe you haven't. Now, if folks bring their hurt feelings to you, and you independently conclude, after examination in your own conscience, that the behavior they are indicting is, in fact, in conflict with your own moral or ethical beliefs, then such folks are your friends. They're pointing out something that you may have missed or preferred not to see, so that you can live in greater alignment with your own beliefs. When this happens, the right move is to disabuse yourself of the behavior, apologize to those impacted, and make amends for any damages. However, if your independent examination critically and dispassionately concludes that the behavior they are indicting is not, in fact, in conflict with your own moral or ethical beliefs, then you must conclude that you've done nothing wrong. And in such cases, you absolutely should not apologize for that behavior. The issue here is that there are a lot of folks who are rather soft-hearted and conflict avoidant. They observe the other person's distress or discomfort. They legitimately don't want the other person to suffer, and so they apologize in an attempt to reduce the other person's suffering. In fact, such compassionate apologies can make the situation much, much worse. This is because the person demanding the apology can hear such an apology as an admission of guilt, an admission that the apologist has committed some form of wrongdoing, and that the intentions imputed to the apologist were correctly divined by the person demanding the apology.
The problem with that is you leading the other person down the drain and helping in their own self-destruction, because if they are believing wrong things and want apologies for things that are wrongful, you are not a friend of truth and a warrior for truth. You are a warrior for making people feel better, and if you make people feel better, opposing the truth, you are helping in their eventual demise.
Women never, ever, ever lie. Never do they lie. She showed you her red flags from day one. You chose to ignore them. Might show it simply by how she dresses. And she might show you that she might be provocative. Or she might show you with her sexual behavior. She might show you through how she is as a parent. She might not have kids and not prioritize them. Or she may have denied another man access to the children. And you think you're going to be Captain Stepdad and you're going to save the day. But the reality is she showed you that she denies men access to the children. And myself included, we show men all of our red flags. Now we pick the man that allows us to get away with the most nonsense. Now, if you don't have many red flags as a woman, what will happen is you attract a man with really clear boundaries. But a woman filled with red flags will only select a man who's filled with low self-esteem. Women never, ever, ever lie. Never do they lie. She showed you her red flags from day one. You chose to ignore them.
This is an extremely important thing to teach young people. Now, first of all, I think young people marry too quickly. So never mind seeing red flags. You never had time to see red flags because you married so quickly. This is not a good thing. The Bible talks about the virtues of patience and observation and wisdom. There is not wisdom in marrying someone in a time period way shorter than you think you can get to know them. The second thing is, in dating relationships, they do not do things that will show the person's true character. So they do nice things like going to braais and going to restaurants and going on little day trips and whatever else. If you're dating someone, take them as a group, obviously, with friends or whatever, on something like a hike like the Namib Naukluq for the Otter Trail, where they're put under physical exertion and stress. Try also to work with them in some or other projects, because you can only identify someone's true character when they don't get what they want and when they're put under stress. Even the worst presidents and dictators that murdered millions of people were very charming when they got what they wanted. The problem is how they behaved when they got what they did not want.